Hello, I am Kathy Ruberg with Uplift. I am the Grants and Loans Resource Technical Manager, and I am here to introduce you to a new program to you, possibly, maybe not, and to Dave Walker, who's going to walk us through the resourceful communities and some new opportunities they have there. So, welcome, Dave.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. I'm Dave Walker. I'm the Associate Director at Resourceful Communities. We're a specialized program of the Conservation Fund, which is a large national nonprofit that does environmental work across the United States. We work as a program just in North Carolina to help build the capacity of rural grassroots nonprofits, faith organizations, and small towns in North Carolina.
Uplift does the same thing. We work in rural communities in North Carolina. Those are the folks that need extra set of hands, extra set of eyes, pretty much any resource we can provide them. So if you can tell us a little bit about the resources from resourceful communities and what type of things you do with these rural communities.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Rural communities can benefit from a lot of support and have a lot to share with other rural communities across the state. So we take a three-strategy approach. We help rural communities with project funding through our small grants program, which I'm going to talk about later. We pair that funding with capacity building. And so we work one-on-one with grassroots leaders to help them move their project along. It may be helping them find additional funding. It may be helping on project planning and how do you get the program off the ground. Could be about evaluation. It's really directed by the organization. Our second strategy is around trainings. And so we have trainings in person and on Zoom throughout the year on topics that really matter to rural communities. Last year, we had trainings on leveraging local government resources or understanding power as it relates to networks and land and resiliency. Our third strategy is our strongest, and that's our network. And so bringing together different rural grassroots partners so that they're able to share with each other, and then bringing together other resource providers across the state so that they can know better what's going on in rural North Carolina and be able to better serve rural North Carolina.
That is great. I'm from a rural community myself, and I know how hard it is to get your voice heard when you're small. And it's hard to connect with even your neighbors sometimes when you are just doing all you can to get your job done, and you might not have time to do that networking. So that is amazing. Any resource they can get to help them connect is just a great service. So you mentioned the small grant funding. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about that today. Are you able to provide us an overview of the small grants that you are currently have open?
Sure. We call it the Creating New Economies Fund. We call it CNEF, even though it's CNEF. We say CNEF. And the small grant is to help community projects do work around the triple bottom line. And so we'll get into the triple bottom line a little bit later, but it's to do work that has environmental, social justice, and economic benefits for the communities. We're really interested in helping projects that meaningfully engage communities. And so projects that aren't project of one or one person's idea, but ones that have support from the people who are going to benefit from the work. Our grants can typically go up to $15,000, but more likely the award is going to be $8,000 to $12,000. 9-month grants, and so we opened the grant cycle in early January with grants due in mid-February, on February 16th. This spring, we'll review grants, and folks will be told whether they got the award or not in April. And so the grants run from May to the end of December. For the last 10 years, we've awarded around $9.9 million and 770 grants.
That is a lot of small grants.
A lot of small grants. And this year we have around $825,000 in grant funds available.
Okay. And your grant funds are specifically for North Carolina rural communities. What other eligibility requirements are there?
That's a great question. We have a cap on the size of the organizations that we can work with. And so organizations with operating budgets less than 300,000 are encouraged to apply. Nonprofits are encouraged to apply, but we also accept grant applications from small towns, local agencies that don't receive regular support from their county or town government, tribal entities, and faith organizations. And so even if you're not a nonprofit, we still encourage you to talk with our staff and have a conversation about your project. Some folks that we are unable to fund are businesses.
Mm-hmm.
We can't fund somebody's business. And again, organizations that are larger than 300,000.
Okay. So in addition to a 501c3, do you fund anything different like a 501c6, or does it have to be a C3?
It needs to be a C3.
Okay. Okay.
And I should also say that it needs to be in a rural community. And
Okay.
so we have several counties that we're unable to fund. Buncombe, Durham, Forsyth, Guilford, Mecklenburg, New Hanover, Orange, Wake.
Okay.
Other counties that are rapidly experiencing growth, places like Pitt or Alamance or Henderson, those counties, we place less of a priority on, but we know that they're parts of Alamance County or Henderson County that are very rural.
Mm-hmm.
And so we look at that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. The grant cycle. So the applications are due February 16th. And I understand they need to speak with someone before they submit the grant, right?
They do. We love to speak with folks. We actually make it required that folks who apply, they need to speak with our staff by February 9th. And that's when, our staff get to learn more about the applicant and can share feedback about the proposal, whether it's a good fit. We hate folks to apply and it not be a good fit, and folks honestly waste their time. And so, that's another service that we provide is coaching folks along the application process. And we're happy to read draft applications, look over budgets, talk about what the triple bottom line means, what kind of evaluation folks are planning to do. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to know what the triple bottom line means.
It's a great question. And so the triple bottom line for us advances benefits related to social justice, economic development, and environmental stewardship. We know that when you look at the state and you look at the most environmentally vulnerable places, the places that are going to see the most change related to climate change and to urbanization, if you have that map and you lay a map on top of it, that's the most economically challenged parts of the state, the most tier one parts of the state, you'll see the same red colors. And then if you lay on top of that map, where are the worst health outcomes, for folks. You'll see the same communities, and that, if you're looking at it, it's rural communities, folks up and down the eastern part of the state, folks in the Blue Ridge and other very rural parts of the state. And so the triple bottom line, if we can focus on it, can help dig at those root causes of that rural communities are trying to address. And so some examples of what the triple bottom line might look like in different communities related to the environment. It could be STEM education, it could be land protection, it could be sustainable agriculture, environmental justice, energy efficiency. It can look so many different ways. With economic, it can look like entrepreneurship training. It can look like helping folks with soft skills so that they're better able to apply for a job. It can look like financial literacy. And then social justice, which many rural communities and grassroots organizations do very, very well at. It's engaging people of color, engaging low wealth folks, encouraging broad access and participation in what's going on in the community. We see the triple bottom line show up in so many different ways. And what our organization helps to do is some grassroots nonprofits may be really strong in the social justice. And so they may have an after-school program for at-risk youth. And so that's a really good social justice project. And so we can help the organization, if they're interested and it's something that they want to do, incorporate gardening or pollinators into that program. And so that brings in the environment. And then if they're interested in bringing in that economic part of it, what are some value-added products that that small garden could sell to their community? Teaching entrepreneurship to the kids who are involved.
Okay, so it sounds like you take the people that work in your program, not just with small grant funds, but you continue with them, training, resources, walk with them along their path.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's a small grants program with typical awards between $8,000 and $12,000. And so we want to be really clear, we want reasonable projects, and we don't expect big systemic change happening through our small grants program. And so we're really, our program is tailored to the grassroots organizations that we work to serve. And so, that can take us in a lot of different ways. It could take us to ecotourism, to sustainable agriculture, to an after school or summer program. We have a lot of experience with working with different organizations to do the work to best serve their community.
Okay. Are you able to give us an example of maybe a project that was funded in your 2023 cycle?
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of a really good example that might fit for the Uplift community. We were able to help support the Friends of Fauna Forest State Trail. It's a trail to connect from Morganton up to Asheville. The trail has been in the works for a number of years, but our small grants fund was able to help them be able to do more outreach and community engagement, to recruit more volunteers, to do more fundraising, so that the State Trail could share with the broader community about the work that they're doing to create better outdoor access in the foothills, but also to bring communities together, linking them through the trail.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a wonderful project. Also in the foothills nearby, we were able to work with Lake James Environmental Association that was looking to use Lake James as a STEM education place for um, folks in their community who may not have access to environmental programs. We worked with a number of summer camps that were interested in getting kids outdoor and active and moving and bringing in gardens or fresh local food into that kind of summer programming.
That's amazing. I know from having small children, having had small children, that if they grow it, they're much more likely to eat it. It makes it very real, and it makes it part of what they've done, a source of pride.
We this project was a few years ago, but we were able to work with a grassroots organization in Clay County in the far western part of the state that was working to develop a network of mountain bike trails and to really brand and tell the story of their community as a biking community, seeing that as an economic development opportunity. And so they created a number of videos to tell that story, to tell what's going on in Clay County. And from that work, they were able to recruit somebody to move to Clay County to start a bike shop. And so, it's really, it can look a lot of different ways. I'm always thrilled to see the innovation that's coming from rural communities. And, we're happy to support the many different things that grassroots nonprofits bring to us.
I love that. Uplift, that's exactly what we're working on with them, is to help rural communities meet the goals that they have for themselves, and increase tourism, which of course, to increase tourism, you have to have a strong community base. There's infrastructure, so many things go into it. And then when the tourism does start coming in, the communities are ready, and it raises all boats. So that is very exciting. We will put a page up with some of the facts for the grant that's upcoming and closing soon. We'll also put information about who they need to contact, because they need to get in touch before February 6th. And February 6th seems a little late still, because they've only got till February 16th to apply. So is there anything further that we haven't touched on you want to talk about? We'll certainly be meeting with you again, because it sounds like we have lots of overlapping priorities that we can help with our the communities that we both serve. Is there anything else about the was it SNF?
SNF, that's right. Yeah. No, I think we covered it, and our staff would love to talk with anyone, whether you're thinking of a project or just to learn more about your work. Again, we'll have workshops throughout the year on different topics like programming for youth or seniors, that incorporate fresh, healthy food into a food pantry. Lots of different workshops coming up this year, and I know we have one with Uplift that I'm speaking at in March, and so I'm excited about that.
And the list of events and webinars and things like that, they'll be on your website for the Conservation Fund?
They are, and
Okay.
can share that with you.
We will put a link up to that as well. So I appreciate your time today, and we will certainly be meeting with you soon. Look forward to having you at the event in March. And Dave, we just look forward to seeing a lot more of your organization. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much.
We wanted to provide a little bit more info on the triple bottom line that was spoken about during the podcast interview. The triple bottom line includes environmental stewardship, community economic development, and social justice to address community challenges. Proposed projects for the Creating New Economies Fund small grant program must incorporate the triple bottom line. This means your project must result in environmental, economic, and social justice benefits or impacts. Here are some examples of triple bottom line impacts. An example of economic impact would be helping develop new job skills or teaching business skills like entrepreneurship, business planning, or marketing. An example of an environmental impact would be providing environmental education or helping people understand what environmental justice is and how it impacts them. An example of a social justice impact could be teaching advocacy skills or helping people to overcome barriers to participation throughout the community. Use the links on this page to learn more about the Conservation Fund. See opportunities for grants and other resources from the Resourceful Communities Program. The submission deadline for the 2024 Creating New Economies Fund is Friday, February 16th. Please note that to be eligible for grant funding, you are required to speak to a Resourceful Communities team member about your project on or before February 9th. We highly encourage you to reach out to a Resourceful Communities team member at the Conservation Fund to learn more about the Creating New Economies Fund and other resources and funding opportunities they have available.